Okay. Hello, my name is Ramon. Before I start my claim, I want you to go back in time with me. I want you to remember the words of a political thinker that revolutionized the course of politics. I'm talking about John Locke. You see, John Locke, in his book, A Letter of Consideration, once said, "The duty a government should have to protect the basic human rights." John Locke mentioned that a government should protect the basic human rights being health, indolence of body, life, and liberty. When creating our Constitution, the Founding Fathers used these ideals, but they left one out: health. And that's what I want to focus today on. I want to present you my major claim now, being that universal health care is essential for today's society. I'm going to support this claim by the secondary claims, which are: first, universal health care is essential for those who face economic adversity. Second, universal health care favors those who have a comfortable economic situation. And lastly, universal health care can end up being cheaper than the current privatized healthcare system that we have. Okay, so focusing on number one, universal health care is essential for those who have economic adversity. The American Medical Student Association posted an article written by professor at Brown Medicine School, Flavio Cosi. And Flavio Cosi says, and I quote, that over the last few decades, the United States has witnessed skyrocketing healthcare costs. Health insurance premiums have been rising on average by double-digit percentage points over the past 5 years. This is 2 to 3 times the rate of inflation. So now, thanks to these increases in the price of health care, 45 million Americans are uninsured today. So definitely universal health care is essential for those who have economic adversity. My second claim, which is that citizens that have a comfortable economic situation also need health care, comes from the same article posted by the American Student Medical Association. And in the article, they say that fewer employers are able to provide health care to their employees, which means that, vice versa. Yeah, employees cannot provide health care to their employers. Usually people who have a comfortable economic situation have employers, and if they can't provide health care to their employees, then definitely universal health care is essential. In the same article, they posted a statistic that says that in 2000, 69% of all employees were able to provide health care. In 2005, this went down to 60%. And this keeps going down every year. And now we're going to move from 45 million to 50 million uninsured Americans, and we're just going to keep going down. So now, in my third claim, which is that in addition to it being essential, it is also cheaper than our current privatized healthcare system, political scientist Jason Rothman claims that he made a comparison among 29 countries, industrialized countries like the United States, and the United States ends up paying more in healthcare than the other countries. The other countries have universal healthcare. And let me explain why. You see, the United States, the citizens who have a sickness, they can't go to the doctor because they don't have money. So minor healthcare issues turn into huge health issues that can't be attained. So now I want to create a hypothetical story so you guys can understand my last claim. And this is the story of Ted. You see, Ted has been having trouble swallowing for the past 2 weeks. He wants to go to the doctor, but he doesn't have money. After a couple of months, that issue swallowing turns into pain, so Ted has to go to the doctor now. He goes to the doctor, and Ted finds out that he has cancer. A couple of months later, Ted dies. The last months of Ted's life were spent in a hospital with an expensive chemotherapy treatment that the government ended up paying, with loans, whatever, but they paid for it. Later on, Ted's relatives find out that if Ted would have gone to the doctor before, he could have been cured. But since he didn't, because he didn't have money or universal health care, he died. So this proves that it is essential and cheaper. Now, to finalize this, I want you to know about the United States. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. It is in the top economies of the world. It is one of the industrialized democracies of the world, and it's also the only one that doesn't have universal health care. But it does have the biggest army. So, universal health care is essential for today's society. It is cheaper, it can save a life, and it can save your life. Thank you.
All right, Ramon, the quote is okay. It needs to be tied in later on when you're talking about the rights thing. I think you might want to come back to it even at the end. Although there is a value issue implied by the quote, you are trying to focus on what the factual disputes are. So what are the factual issues on essential? And you talk about costs, and you talk about health, and I think those are the two things that you should be spending the most time on. The cost one is the one that you spent some time on. It needed to be developed a little bit more because you have information about the rates at which it's increasing, but very little information about what the cost of universal health care would be for comparative data. Let's see, you did a very good job outlining what the structure was going to be of the speech. You signposted clearly as you're going through the presentation. Early on the testimony evidence, the quotes that you were citing, you do a good job on that. There's some statistical information in that section as well. The hypothetical that you present us about Ted with the dry throat, I think is okay, but it's a bit broad. You have to show that those are in fact typical sorts of things for people, and that that something that could have been relatively easily taken care of is exacerbating the costs of medicine. In that situation, I could definitely see how it's true. I just don't know how widespread it is, and all we've got is your hypothetical on this. Like I said, you did a good job in citing the material. There are a couple of big assumptions there. For instance, on the first point, there's this big assumption that it's cost that causes a lack of coverage, and I'm not sure that you did enough to show me that in fact it's the expense that causes people to not have health care coverage. The best information that you have on this is the employers are not offering the coverage as much, and I assume that's a cost-related issue. And you mentioned, for instance, it's gone from 69% to 60% coverage. What's the increase in the number of people who are uncovered in the amount of time that you're talking about? Does that correlate to the statistics that you have about who was uncovered 9 years ago or however long ago it was? I forget, 2 years ago as compared to today. Did we get a 9% increase in the number who were uncovered? That would correlate very well with that particular argument. I thought you did a nice job building some ethos with your presentation. You're very forceful. You got good energy in the speech. The pacing's pretty good for following the argument, but sometimes it seems a little bit hesitant and then undermines your credibility. Although you've got a good voice and excellent audience contact, sometimes the pacing slows down awkwardly and you seem a little less than certain. All right, thank you.